Oxycodone and fentanyl experience. A night of sin and smoke. 12 p.m. The drive begins. The pill crumbled between my teeth, bitter as regret, dissolving into something warm and velvet soft. 20 milligrams of OxyContin. Not enough to knock me flat, but enough to make the road hum beneath my tires, stretching endlessly like a dark promise. 100 miles to my hometown. The ghosts of old haunts whispered through my skull, but the oxy hushed them. I stopped for lunch, something greasy and satisfying, the kind of meal that glues you to your seat. By the time I reached my cousin's house, I was floating just above my skin, and the night had only just begun. 4 p.m., boosting the high. My cousin's eyes glimmered when I handed him 2 OxyContins. A gift, a curse, who could say? I took my own offering, scraped off its coating like peeling the skin from an apple, ground it to dust, and let it ride the rails up my nose. The rush hit like a lover's whisper, gentle at first, then urgent. That's when the phone rang. An old friend, dangling an invitation like a baited hook, dinner at his place, a joint waiting to be smoked. How could I resist? 5 p.m., the ritual of smoke and paint. I pressed a pill into my friend's palm, and he swallowed it without hesitation. The weed crackled, filling the room with a haze that dulled the edges of reality. The nursery walls, blue as a newborn's first breath, called to us, and we answered, paint rollers in hand. It felt like something sacred, 2 men anointing a space for life yet to come. Dinner came and went, warm and heavy in our stomachs, but something wasn't right. My friend had gone pale, a damp sweat breaking over his skin. The oxy had turned on him, dragging him under. I watched as he staggered, face contorted, fighting waves of nausea. Guilt crawled up my spine, but it was too late. He had to ride it out. I left him groaning in bed and disappeared into the night. 8 p.m., the devil in the patch. Back at my cousin's, I found the night's true temptation. Duragesic patches, slick with fentanyl's deadly kiss. A little research, a little daring. Smoking seemed safest, if you could call any of this safe. We laid a strip of foil down, let the gel sizzle and curl into ghostly tendrils. I inhaled deeply, waiting for the reaper's caress. At first, a trickster's whisper, an uncertain buzz. Then, the weight of something bigger, heavier, older than time itself. We laughed at the absurdity of it all, chasing dragons in the dim light, waiting for our hearts to stop. But they didn't. Not yet. 8:45 p.m., hunger and madness. The second wave came in stronger, deeper, licking at the edges of oblivion. We soaked a cigarette in the gel and let the fire release its secrets. The air crackled with possibility, with danger. Hunger struck, wild and insatiable. We devoured everything in sight. Hot dogs, Cheetos, frozen pizza, coffee, a feast for the damned. No pot to blame, only the silent hand of fentanyl stirring something primal in our guts. Another call, another invitation. Waffle House. Why not? 9:30 p.m., pie and poison. Under the fluorescent lights, the world felt unreal, like a scene in a dream you're not sure you want to wake from. Pie and coffee grounded me, but the patch in my pocket pulsed like a living thing. We returned home, stomachs full but minds still reaching, still wanting. 11 p.m., experimentation and insatiability. The game changed. A few drops of gel onto Tylenol pills. Tomorrow's pleasure, waiting in the wings. The patch, torn open, its insides licked clean like a forbidden delicacy. The bitterness clung to my tongue, a taste I'd never forget. Another hit, deeper this time. My cousin's pupils were wide, bottomless. Can't sleep, he muttered. Neither could I. But why would I? The night was just getting started. 1 a.m., the high of a lifetime. I licked the patch again, slower, savoring. The high wrapped around me like silk, effortless and all-consuming. This was it, the kind of high that made time irrelevant, that turned worry into a distant memory. My skin tingled with the itch, a lover's tease, an invitation to scratch and scratch and scratch. Outside, the world moved on, oblivious. Inside, I floated in a dream of my own making. 4 a.m., the last indulgence. One final taste. The bitter kiss of fentanyl lingered on my tongue, its ghost whispering sweet nothings. Shawshank Redemption played in the background, but I barely heard it. The real story was unfolding in my veins, a tale of euphoria and danger, of pushing limits and brushing the edges of forever. 5:06 a.m., reflection and reckoning. The mirror told the truth. Dark circles under my eyes, skin damp and clammy, a body running on fumes and something more sinister. The itch hadn't faded, neither had the euphoria. I could have gone further. Should have, maybe, but there was always next time. Next time, I'd find the edge and dangle my toes over it, maybe even step off. Fentanyl experiment, a dance with death. The forgotten patches. They had been sitting there for months. 4 empty fentanyl patches, relics from a summer spent chasing that warm, velvet euphoria. Back then, I had savored every drop of the gel, licking it clean like a desperate man searching for salvation. And yet, for some reason, I kept the husks, discarded, forgotten, useless. Or so I thought. I had heard whispers about people chewing on the scraps, chasing a ghost of a high. I never put much stock in it. Surely, whatever magic had once lived inside had long since dried up. But 2 nights ago, desperate and out of weed, I reconsidered. If there was even a sliver of something left, I wanted it. I took all 4 patches and chewed them like a man starved, the bitter remnants clinging to my tongue. 20 minutes passed. I expected nothing. I was wrong. The high creeps in. The warmth came first, spreading through my veins like an old friend whispering, "I've missed you." It was the fentanyl signature, smooth, all-consuming, perfect. Euphoria washed over me, thick and heavy. I sat in my room, basking in it, my mind a gentle haze of contentment. Then, the thirst. My throat burned, dry as sandpaper. I reached for grapefruit juice, the old opiate trick. Whether it truly strengthened the high or not, I didn't know. But it was ritual now. A sip, a deep breath, and the sinking realization. The high didn't need to be stronger. It was already too much. The descent begins. 10 minutes later, my body betrayed me. A creeping nausea twisted in my stomach, but I was too high to care. The euphoria was a thick, golden haze, muffling everything. I stood to get another drink. The second my feet hit the floor, a wave of sickness slammed into me. My stomach lurched. My head spun. My body, suddenly foreign, shuddered under the weight of its own intoxication. I stumbled to the bathroom, barely making it to the toilet before vomiting. Most times, throwing up was a miserable affair, but not now. Not this time. This time, I simply didn't care. If I was overdosing, well, it was too late to stop it now. If I was going to die, then I was going to die. Nothing to do but ride it out. A dangerous game. I wiped my mouth and forced myself back to my feet, wandering back into the living room. I told my parents I was sick, an insurance policy in case things spiraled further. The excuse was flimsy, but I didn't care. They wouldn't suspect a thing. Normally, fentanyl left me blissfully relaxed, content to sink into my bed and listen to the strange, whispering voices that always surfaced when I drifted on this stuff. But tonight was different. Tonight, I couldn't lie still. Something in me itched. Not just my skin, but my soul. And worse, I felt alone. I did something I never did while high. I sought out company. I sat with my parents, pretending I was just another sick kid trying to shake off a bad bug. They bought it, or maybe they didn't. Either way, they let me stay, let me talk, let me pretend I wasn't circling the drain. The nausea returned in waves. I excused myself, threw up, came back, over and over. My body was purging, but the high wouldn't loosen its grip. The edge of consciousness. By the time I crawled back into bed, exhaustion consumed me. The voices returned, louder than ever. Not hallucinations, just those strange, half-formed echoes that fentanyl always summoned in the quiet hours. I slipped into a half-dream, playing out familiar routines, walking to school, brushing my teeth, only to jolt awake with the crushing realization, I'm in bed, I'm not moving, I'm dying. And yet, I let it happen. My last thought before slipping under was simple, resigned, this is it. I set an alarm, just in case, waking up dead inside. Somehow, I woke before it went off. 10 a.m. My body, sluggish and drenched in sweat, dragged itself upright. The second I moved, I was back in the bathroom, purging again. My skin was crawling, an itch unlike any other. Normally, opiate itches were pleasurable, but this was relentless. I clawed at myself, unable to stop. The warmth was gone. The euphoria had burned away, leaving behind a hollow sickness. I shuffled back to my parents, sitting with them as I waited for the exhaustion to claim me again. At that point, I had accepted it. If I was going to die, I was going to die. I was too tired to fight it. Morning brings no mercy. The next morning, I woke up, unhappy to be alive. My body was ruined, weak, sick. The glow of the high had faded completely, leaving behind nothing but suffering. The sickness didn't lift until mid-afternoon, and even then, it clung to me like a specter. 2 days later, I was finally back to normal. The reckoning. I had danced with death and lived to tell the tale, but not by much. I had a tolerance. Weeks of daily fentanyl use had made sure of that, but even still, I knew I had played a dangerous game. For empty patches could have been enough to kill someone with no tolerance. Hell, they almost killed me. And yet, I didn't regret it. The high had been worth it. The warmth, the peace, the blissful detachment from reality. It had cost me a day of agony, but for those few hours, I had floated above it all. Would I do it again? No, I had come too close. But still, now, at least, I could say I had overdosed. Yay.